This video on separation of substances part 4 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let us now talk about the next separation process, that is threshing. So what is threshing? So it is the process of separation of grains from stalks. Now normally if you look at a field, let's think of a paddy field. So from where we get the rice grains. So do you directly get rice grains from the plant? No. So when you look at the plants in the paddy field, they look somewhat like this, where you have these stalk-like structures, as you can see here, the stems or stalks, whatever you call them. And then on these stalks, you have these grains which are again enclosed in a covering. So something of this sort is present, and inside this are the rice grains, and we are interested in these rice grains. So when you look at the entire process of cultivating these plants and then getting the rice grains for you, so they involve a lot of steps. So the first step when you when you try to take out the grains is to separate the grains, that is to separate these from the stalks. Now, one single stalk can have multiple seeds, as you can see here, just one stalk with so many seeds, right? So this separation is done by threshing. So what do we do to separate these two? Let's see, because manually you just cannot pluck the seeds one by one. So there has to be some process because due to which it will happen a little faster. So the way threshing is done manually is beating the grain using a flail or a threshing floor. Now what's a flail? So it is an agricultural tool which is used for threshing to separate grains from their husks. So if you look at it, these guys, they are holding a long stick kind of thing. So that is nothing but a flail. So with this stick or with this flail, they beat on the stalks. So here you have the stalks and the grains. Now as they beat it, the stalks and the grains, they get separated because they are not very strongly attached to each other. So when they are beaten so hard, so the two tend to get separated. Now often this is done on a threshing floor, as you can see here. I mean, a kind of space which is reserved for doing the process of threshing. So threshing. Now, why do we want to separate the two? Because obviously we are interested in the grains and we do not need the stalks. So this is the first step of separation. Now, here also in this picture, you can see this is the threshing floor. So where it is like covered with the stalks and the grains, and so many of them are manually beating the grain. And because of that, the two get separated. Now, when you look at this entire process, you see it is all manual, it is all like human effort. So you might be thinking that this must be a very tiring process for all of them, because with holding that stick in hand and continuously beating on the floor, so that's definitely a tedious task and time consuming as well. So sometimes threshing is also done with the help of animals, but yes, again that is tiring for animals as well. So this method is where animals are made to walk on the grain on a hard surface. So basically a threshing floor is created where you have the grains and the stalks, and then the animals are asked to walk over them. So that way also it is like equivalent to beating. Sometimes animals are made to walk and sometimes vehicles are run on the grain. So if vehicles are run, in that case there is not much of manual effort or manual labor. So these are some alternative traditional methods of doing threshing manually. However, these days some modern methods have come up where the manual effort has been replaced by machines. So here you have automated machines, and the machines take care of the entire process. So the machine is called a combine, and this machine does harvesting as well as threshing. Harvesting means when you start planting your trees. So it takes some time to give crops. So by the time the crops are ready, so when you need to cut the crop, so that cutting of crops is known as harvesting. So that with these machines, you don't even need to cut the crops. So the machine itself will take care of cutting the crops, as you can see here. So towards one end of the machine, you have a device which will help to cut it. So you see here, as the machine moves from this side to this side, all the crops are being cut, but this side it is still there. So as the machine moves, it keeps cutting. So the harvesting is also done, and within the machine itself, threshing is done. That is, the stalks and the grains, they are separated. So in this case, there is no manual effort. The process is also very fast because you are not beating it manually. So it's like a huge machine. You just run the vehicle, and the machine keeps doing its own job. So the grains get collected in the grain tank. So there is a separate tank where all the grains get collected, and the unwanted chaff falls off the back of the machine. So you see, from the back side, all the unwanted things like the dry scaly casings or the coverings of seeds or the stalks, they all get thrown out by the end of the machine. So now when you look at this, you feel that yes, this is faster, and this seems to be more efficient, because when you see thousands of people, they are like putting in so much of effort for doing such a thing. So if you can replace that effort of 1,000 people with just one machine, so that seems to be a great thing, right? And that's how this automated machines work. Now, threshing also has its own advantage and disadvantage. So when you talk about the advantage, so if you talk about the automated machines like the combine harvester, so it is definitely faster and effective in doing its job. But when you talk about hand threshing, it is very tiring, and this entire process of threshing is not very suitable to particles of similar sizes and texture, because here in threshing, you see, you separate the grains from the stalks. So the grains and the stalks, they are very much different from each other. But if I tell you that that you have to separate two particles which look almost similar, so how would you separate? So that cannot be done with threshing, because if you have, say, grains, and if you have small husks or small stones or small leaf-like structures, so in that case, even if you beat it, I do not think that will serve the purpose of separation. So threshing is suitable only for the separation of stalks and the grains, which are like very much dissimilar to each other. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.